Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air. The market's closing down late today as President Trump escalates the trade war with China, slapping new tariffs on China tonight. Elon Musk calling President Trump's top trade advisor dumber than a sack of bricks. And the Republican senator asking tonight on these tariffs, whose throat do I get to choke if this is wrong? Also tonight here, the horrific roof collapse, killing at least 58 people. The video as people notice parts of the roof coming down on them. First tonight, the market's closing down, the Dow dropping another 320 points today, down more than 4,500 points since the tariffs were announced. President Trump's next wave of steep tariffs set to take effect at midnight, and the president now ratcheting up his trade war with China. Tonight, we're with home builders across the U.S. who say the tariffs are already hurting, what this will do to the cost of building a home and buying one here in the U.S. The chilling images coming in tonight the moment the roof collapses at a popular nightclub. A band performing on stage when suddenly everything comes crashing down. Dozens are dead tonight, including a former major league pitcher for the Yankees and the Mets among the victims. The images coming in from the Dominican Republic. New reporting tonight on the alleged assassination attempt against then candidate Trump. What we've now learned about that suspect on the golf course and what he allegedly tried to get his hands on before that day. Tonight, the Supreme Court upholding President Trump's deportation plan, allowing him to use the Alien Enemies Act to send migrants to El Salvador. Matt Rivers in El Salvador tonight at that notorious prison. Back here in the U.S., the disturbing video, the family outraged after their autistic son is shot by police. Tonight, he is now fighting for his life. This evening, the flood emergency across several states, and now the deep freeze moving in all the way to the northeast. Ginger Z standing by with the forecast. Tonight, the coach charged with murdering a 13-year-old. The family reporting their son missing. His body has now been found. Newly released body camera video tonight showing the race to save a firefighter trapped inside this home. First responders racing toward him. Tonight, the surprise at an American zoo. They had no idea she was pregnant. The giraffe giving birth, the baby, 6 feet tall, 128 pounds. And America Strong tonight, the family refusing to give up on their rescue dog, determined to earn his trust. And you'll see the moment right here. It all changed.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a very busy Tuesday night. All eyes on Wall Street and President Trump's tariffs. The market's closing down again late today, with President Trump now escalating his trade war against China. His sweeping tariffs on 60 countries going into effect tonight, and real tension now among some of the president's top advisors, now playing out in public. Elon Musk calling the president's top trade advisor dumber than a sack of bricks. And Republican senators on the Hill today asking serious questions about this tariff strategy. One asking, whose throat do I get to choke if this is wrong? The Dow dropping another 320 points today, down more than 4,500 points since the tariffs were announced. The S&P 500 down 79 points today. The Nasdaq down 335 points, more than 2% today alone. President Trump tonight saying trade negotiations with some countries are happening. On social media saying a high-level delegation from South Korea is on the way for talks. The White House says Japan is negotiating with the president's Treasury Secretary. Tonight, China refusing to bow. President Trump hit China with 34% tariffs. So China hit back with 34% retaliatory tariffs. President Trump telling China to drop that retaliation, if not hitting them with another major tariff at midnight tonight. This would effectively be a 104% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. from China starting tonight. We're with home builders here in the U.S. this evening and what they say this will do to the cost of building a home and buying one here in the U.S. ABC senior political correspondent Rachel Scott leading us off tonight from the White House.
Tonight, with the financial markets all closing down, President Trump forging ahead with his massive tariffs, ratcheting up his trade war with one of America's largest trading partners, China. A steep 104% tariff on all Chinese products imported to the U.S. set to go into effect at midnight. China accusing the U.S. of bullying after President Trump last week imposed an additional 34% tariff on Chinese goods. China then retaliating with a 34% tariff on all American products. The president then raising the stakes, warning if China didn't back down by noon today, he would increase the tax on everything that comes into this country from China to 104%. But China refused, saying it would not give in to blackmail. Wall Street reeling, the Dow dropping another 320 points today. It has lost 4,579 points since President Trump announced his massive tariffs last week, down 10% in 4 days. On Capitol Hill, Republican senators who rarely break from Trump now feeling the pressure from companies and constituents back home.
This is creating some anxiety, this current tariff posture among some of my constituents.
I'm hoping and I hope you and the president are very sensitive about companies potentially going bankrupt by these actions.
Whose throat do I get to choke if this proves to be wrong?
Tonight, the president saying trade negotiations with some countries are happening. China wasn't one of them.
Right now, Japan is flying here to make a deal. South Korea is flying here to make a deal.
And within the White House, the tariffs exposing deep divisions among some of the president's closest aides. Elon Musk attacking trade advisor Peter Navarro as a moron who's dumber than a sack of bricks, speaking out in support of free trade with Europe.
Both Europe and the United States should move, ideally, in my view, to a zero tariff situation, effectively creating a free trade zone between Europe and North America.
Navarro swiping back at Musk, saying his Tesla cars are built with foreign parts.
Elon's a car manufacturer, but he's not a car manufacturer. He's a car assembler.
The White House trying to downplay it all.
Look, these are obviously two individuals who have very different views on trade and on tariffs. Boys will be boys.
But as the White House brushes this off as boys being boys, millions of American families and businesses are already grappling with the real-world effects of the president's trade policies. In Potomac, Maryland, contractor Scott Sailing hopes Washington understands the new tariffs will make it more expensive to build homes and to buy them, showing me that in this American economy, he relies on imported products, from the flooring to the HVAC units.
No, China.
All right, what about the railing here?
That's Canada.
Looking up, seeing the metal brackets.
The middle brackets, also China.
Nearly everything that it requires to build this home is made somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely.
He says his costs are already rising because of the president's tariffs, and that means the cost of the price of the homes he builds will go up too.
We've got anywhere from a 5 to 20% increase on our roofing materials, lumber materials, and metal.
And
so it's already here.
Those tariffs, you'll just pass off to your consumers, your customers?
I've got no choice but to.
The president insists that these tariffs will bring manufacturing jobs back to the United States, but that could take years. And that contractor we spoke to says the reality is that these tariffs will make building and buying homes more expensive. And David, in just a few hours, the president's new round of tariffs on roughly 60 countries, including that 104% tariff on Chinese imports, is expected to go into effect. China calling it blackmail. Tonight, there is just no sense when or how this tariff war is going to end. David.
Rachel Scott leading us off from the White House tonight. Rachel, thank you. We're going to turn now to the horrific roof collapse, killing at least 58 people, including a former Major League pitcher for the Yankees and the Mets. This happened at a popular nightclub in the Dominican Republic. Hundreds were at the Jet Set nightclub. It suddenly goes dark when that roof comes down. Tonight, the building is in ruin after a desperate scramble to free people who were trapped. Dozens are dead, more than 160 injured, and a warning here tonight. The images are disturbing. Here's Victor Akendo.
Tonight, authorities in the Dominican Republic investigating this devastating roof collapse at a popular nightclub that has now left at least 79 people dead and more than 150 wounded. Video circulating online showing what appears to be the moments before the roof came crashing down around 12:30 a.m. This man pointing at the roof, saying something fell. That singer performing on stage also looking up. Within seconds, the collapse and screams as the video goes dark. In another video, this group rushing away from the dance floor moments before the tragic accident. The images from the aftermath are graphic. Bodies on top of the rubble. Just behind them, a man and woman apparently trapped. First responders scaling slabs of concrete across the club floor. You can see what was the bar. The scope of the devastation seen from above. Authorities using heavy machinery to dig through the debris. Hours later, this man pulled out of the destroyed club on the stretcher, alive. The staggering death toll climbing all day as we learn more about the victims that include a saxophonist playing with the band at the time of the collapse, politicians, and athletes. World Series champion and former pitcher for the Houston Astros, New York Yankees, and New York Mets, Octavio Dotel, dying on his way to the hospital. And David, tonight the investigation is underway as doctors from across the country are being asked to come to Santo Domingo to help treat the wounded. David?
Just a horrific scene there, Victor Oquendo. Victor, thank you. We also have new reporting tonight on the alleged assassination attempt of then-candidate Donald Trump. What the suspect at the president's Florida golf course on that day allegedly tried to get his hands on before that day, including anti-aircraft weapons. Here's Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, months after his dramatic arrest, federal prosecutors releasing disturbing new details which they claim show Ryan Ruth's apparent obsession with assassinating President Trump. Before he allegedly stalked Trump on his Florida golf course, prosecutors say Ruth, a fierce supporter of Ukraine who had visited the war-torn country multiple times, reached out to an associate there. His request, send me an RPG, rocket-propelled grenade, or Stinger surface-to-air missile. Prosecutors claim Ruth desperately wanted to blow up then-candidate Trump's plane, writing, I need equipment so that Trump cannot get elected.
Take a look at what happened.
The second assassination attempt coming just 2 months after Trump was nearly killed in Pennsylvania. Authorities in Florida say Ruth waited for 12 hours in a sniper's nest just off Trump's golf course. A Secret Service agent positioned one hole ahead of the president, spotting the barrel of an assault rifle in the bushes, engaging the suspect before he could take a shot at Trump. And now the FBI says Ruth could have had an even more powerful weapon after he first tried to buy a .50 caliber rifle capable of piercing body armor and slicing through car doors. Ruth has pleaded not guilty, but the FBI says they have footage of him conducting surveillance and placing him at the scene just before the alleged attempt. David?
All right, Pierre Thomas in Washington tonight. Pierre, thank you. Next tonight, the Supreme Court upholding President Trump's deportation plan, allowing him to use the Alien Enemies Act to send migrants to El Salvador. So ABC's Matt Rivers is at that notorious prison in El Salvador for us tonight. Matt?
Well, David, this Supreme Court decision means that the Trump administration will be able to continue to send alleged gang members here. This is Secot, one of the most notorious prisons in the entire world. There are nearly 40,000 prisoners inside these walls, including hundreds of Venezuelans deported from the U.S. by the Trump administration. We were not shown those detainees, but the prison director tells me the conditions we saw are the same for everyone inside, and those conditions are designed to be incredibly harsh. And David, the Supreme Court in their decision said all migrants must be given advance notice and the ability to challenge their deportations before they can be removed. David?
Matt Rivers in El Salvador tonight. Matt, thank you. Back here in the U.S., the disturbing video, the family outraged after their autistic son is shot by police. Tonight, their son is now fighting for his life, and what authorities are now saying about this, we warn you, it is disturbing. Here's Trevor Ault.
Tonight, outrage after multiple Idaho police officers opened fire on a teenage boy with autism. Officials in Pocatello say a neighbor called 911 Saturday evening reporting what they described as a man who seemed drunk threatening two people with a knife.
He's pretty drunk. He's just running out with a knife and then falling over, and I think he was stabbing himself on accident just now.
The family says the boy, Victor Perez, is 17 and has autism and physical disabilities. They hope police would de-escalate the situation. Instead, video shows officers approaching, telling the teen to drop the weapon. He moves toward them, and they open fire from the other side of the fence seconds after arriving.
What the heck? What was that? 9 bullets. They took 9 bullets out of that kid. He died twice. They bring him back, and now I got that. He had brain damage, and now we have to handle that.
Pocatello's police chief defending his officers' actions.
We know this incident has deeply affected the community. The full picture requires careful review of all facts and evidence.
David, this shooting's now under investigation. Family members say they're not sure if this teen is going to survive. David?
Trevor Ault reporting. Thank you, Trevor. Next this evening, rivers are still rising amid the deadly flooding across multiple states. 31 rivers from Arkansas to Indiana at major flood stage tonight. There are also freeze and frost alerts right there and across the east as well. So let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Ginger Zee back with us again tonight. Hi, Ginger.
Hi, David. Even though it stopped raining 2 days ago, you still have rivers that were cresting today. It takes time for that water to get downstream. There are more than 30 river gauges at major flood stage. There are warnings on rivers from Arkansas to Indiana and Ohio. Now, they are going to be dry the next couple days until Thursday, but with the dry comes cold. We're talking frost and freeze alerts as far south as Birmingham, Alabama, over to the mid-Atlantic, Baltimore included too. Look at some of the numbers tomorrow morning. Sub-freezing in many spots. That's bad for sensitive plants that have already been planted in the crops. Also, if you want to warm up, you go to the Southwest and warm up a lot. Daily record highs possible from Las Vegas right to Albuquerque, David.
Ginger Z back with us tonight. Ginger, thank you. We turn now to a youth soccer coach in California tonight charged with murdering a 13-year-old. The family reporting their son missing. His body has now been found. Here's Matt Gutman.
Tonight, a youth soccer coach, 43-year-old Mario Garcia Aquino, charged in the murder of a 13-year-old boy.
Mr. Garcia Aquino murdered 13-year-old Oscar Omar Hernandez on March 28, 2025.
Authorities say Oscar Omar Hernandez boarded a train in Los Angeles to visit his coach about 70 miles north of L.A., but when he didn't return home, his family began looking for him and reported him missing. On April 2nd, investigators finding Hernandez's body on the side of a road in a remote area, nearly 2 hours from where he had gone to visit that coach.
Pido justicia.
Hernandez's mother asking for justice to be served. Garcia Aquino charged with 1 count of murder during the commission of lewd acts with a child. The district attorney calling Garcia Aquino a predator and also charging him with sexually assaulting a different teenager at his home in 2022 and accusing him of assaulting another 16-year-old boy in February. And they say they think there could be more.
There's always a fear that there's more victims.
The DA says if the coach is convicted, he could face life in prison without the possibility of parole or even the death penalty, David.
Matt Gutman from Los Angeles. Thank you, Matt. Coming up here, why was Harriet Tubman's story and image taken down by the National Park Service under the Trump administration, the backlash, and what's now happened about this tonight? And look at these images, the newly released body camera video showing the race to save a firefighter trapped right there in that home explosion. First responders racing to get him. We'll have more on this in a moment here. Tonight here, the newly released body camera video showing the incredible rescue of a firefighter trapped in a home explosion in Christopher, Illinois. You can see the video here. It shows the house on fire. One of the firefighters was on the front porch when that home suddenly exploded. First responders and bystanders racing toward the home, the group actually lifting the debris and pulling that firefighter to safety. He's been treated for minor injuries. Just incredible. When we come back here tonight, they did not know she was pregnant. Tonight, the 6-foot, 128-pound baby. And you'll see her in a moment. To the index, the Trump administration and the National Park Service facing backlash after taking down Harriet Tubman's image and her story from the webpage. Her picture was removed along with references to slavery. Tonight has been restored along with the history of the Underground Railroad. They said the edits to the National Park website were made without permission. A big surprise tonight at the Maryland Zoo. A new baby giraffe. Zoo officials didn't know the mother giraffe was pregnant. She gave birth to a 6-foot, 128-pound girl. Both are doing great. When we come back tonight, the terrified rescue dog, the family determined to earn his trust. And you'll see the moment it all changed. Finally tonight, refusing to give up on their rescue dog. Tonight in Melbourne, Kentucky, northeast of Louisville.
Hi, honey.
The all-volunteer nonprofit Cleo's Legacy rescuing Mowgli, a pit bull who they believe was living for months on the streets. Taking him inside, lifting up his crate door, but the dog was too nervous, too scared to step out.
You okay?
It's okay, buddy.
The nonprofit's director, Alex Siska, carefully, patiently working with him, gaining his trust, documenting his progress, setting his bowl just outside the crate. The dog letting Alex feed him out of her hand while he's still inside. The head scratches. And every day they would do this for 11 days. And then the moment. Watch as Mowgli steps out of his crate on his own, one paw at a time. The timid steps, Alex with a little food.
Okay.
The incredible progress. And right here tonight,
Hi, David.
Mowgli, right there with his proud foster mom, Alex, and her message.
adopting dogs that might not seem like the perfect little guy at first, but I promise you they become such an amazing part of your family.
Earning his trust. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Thank you for